ons nog one of the Chamesh Minitoga.
Hemshech Samech Vav, page Kuf Mem Chet, Zayin Adar Hatafshin Samech Chet. Zayin Adar Al Hatafshin Samech Chet.
Right, so we saw that the Indian of Rotze was in Bina, and Shoaib was in Chochmah. And we saw that Bina was his boneness v'gedulus Hashem. Eich shuhui is borad mamali kol almin v'seivu kol almin. V'rak hoidoi al eretz v'shomoyim. But when it comes to the appreciation of the whole creation that eretz v'shomayim, eretz v'shomayim is koil, it's put down in many places, it says, that's called the Elamus Elyonim and the Elamus Taktoinim. When we say Eretz, we mean the Elamus Taktoinim, and we say Shomayim, and Eretz Elyonim. All of those come only from a Inen Hoidoi, which is only a Ziv, a Ha'ora Bilvad, it's only a luminescence of the Eibishter, but not anything which is Klavmi Atzmusai. Is noiled mizah is pilers bi'av karish ph. So we sort of why would he become awakened? Bis pilers barish bi'av karish ph, from understanding the whole shomoyim song tzada ha'ora bilvad. That it's like the old idea that you don't take the tofil and leave the ikar. You don't take the thing that has no substance or subservient, but you go for the principle. In other words, that all the elements are only mitzad ha'ora bilvad. That means they have no erech, and they have no place whatsoever, like Abi Erakuz. So why would you want a dover tofel that has no erech and no place, cloud, like the Amitius, Amatius, well, that's the Eibishter. And therefore you have a tremendous chukka to go away and ba'av karish payesh. Literally it's a consuming sparks of fire, what they consume the whole connection of the mensch to the union of Olam Haseh, and he wants to go up and be dovok in the ikar, in the principle of all what that's the Eibishter. And that's what we saw was the klolus inyan of Rotzoi. But that comes from mitzad his boneness. But we saw that despite the greatness of the inyan of his boneness, it can only reach through the power of the koach habina in the mensch, being as he is a limited individual, and his neshama is melubish in akuf, gashmi and nefesh bahamiyas. Therefore, the bina, the koiches of the neshama, how they express themselves in the limited body, are not able to grasp a mitius elkus, but only a ha'ora levad. The harei kol hasoga ena be'etzem ha'mahus ha'dovar ki im b'ha'orosei levad. V'hainu b'chinas ha'metzia shaloi levad, v'loi bo ha'etzem. The Eino Shai Bozeh Hasoger. That's to say that in the Etzem it's not Shai Hasoger, and you can only have Hasoger in the Ha'ora of any Inyan, and that is not only in the what we call the fact that it's there. You can come to know about its being there. That's what we call Metzias, and you can maybe even describe that Metzias. Of what is the very essence of the thing you can't describe, because the inyan of understanding and asoger, they can't grasp by inyan of essential essence of any entity, how much more so elakus, or they can only understand what we call the metzius, the fact that it's there, and maybe describing some of the outer aspects of that metzius. And we went on to say last night that that's applicable to even things in the physical world. that you can only understand and appreciate things which are materials of the Indian. You can't actually understand the mahus from the evidence or the inyanim which understanding is based on. So therefore, generally speaking, the Indian of Bina and understanding is connected with hearing, with shmiya. And what you hear about things can lead you to an understanding of them, but all you know is that there is such a thing, and you know the evidence that you heard about that thing. However, if you see it, in a minute we'll describe more about that, if you see it, then at least with the power of seeing, you actually see the mahus, even though you may not be masik in your understanding, the amitis essence even of Adar Gashmi, but at least you see the essence, you see it in its perfection, what it really is. When you hear about something and you just understand about it, well, that's Indian from Bina, all you know is certain evidence about the existing entity of that matter, and those existing entities are only a ha'arif in the thing, they're not really the essential Indian itself. However, when you see it, you do see the essential mahus, even though you may not be able to really appreciate the emissar mahus, even of what you see, but at least you do relate to the mahus through the Indian of a ra'iyah, and you actually observe the mahus. So that's the difference between shmiya and riyah. Well, we're now going to deal with that briefly here in the Maimon. So he says that through the union of ha'ora, through the union of asoga, you can only come to the ha'rose levad, behind the machias, the very fact that it's there, you can just know about its entity and the fact that it's there. But not in the essence of it, that in essence you can't really have a soga. The union from Chokhmah is dafki to come back down into the world, not to go out of the world treating it as something absolutely subservient and tofel, and wanting only to go up to Achma saying, say. But the union from Chokhmah is the exact opposite. You come back down into what you know to be an insignificant world, but you know that the Eibishter wants the stuff to be there, and that's the emissary kavanah, and that's the emissary purpose of the Eibishter. Therefore, you come back into the world, as we saw earlier, l'kayim Torah mitzvahs b'olam hagashmi. And why is that? L'yesh sha'chokhmah hi b'chinas re'iyah. Hu inyan riyas hamahus, b'chinas mahus haziv kolo, v'alidei riyas mahus v'atzmas elakus harivun nase b'chinas shoy. Hefer b'chinas harotzoi. Ki, why is that? Why is he becoming in a state of shoiv heper harotzoi? Ki mizbater memetziusei. He loses all of his own materials this time. He's mispatel memetziusei. So says the Rebbe, the Indian from Chokhmah is not really understanding. The basis of Chokhmah, albeit that it's the beginning of the koiches of the nefesh, of the abilities of the soul, and it leads to understanding. If you have certain revelations in the koich of Chokhmah, then they will arouse and they will promote a continuation of that appreciation in Bina, which is understanding and asoga. However, the pneumius and the emes of Chokhmah is not understanding. Even though the lower aspects of Chokhmah do affect and enter Bina, and they do have a certain shaykhis to understanding. However, the emes pneumius and the emes kavanah in the fact that Hashem gave us the koach HaChokhmah is that we should have an experience which we call ra'iyah. Now, that may not be the inyan for riyas einei bosa mamish. It may not be the inyan of seeing with the physical eye. However, you become so involved and you become so aware of that particular matter through the koach HaChokhmah in its higher level, in its pneumius level, that's just the sort of effect it has on you, And the way that you relate to it is just as if you had seen it. So when you see something, then you're very profoundly affected by it. And there's no way that anybody could weaken the connection you have with something that you saw. You could never be led into any doubt about something you saw. You could never be taken away the impression, if it was something impressive and elevated that you saw. You could never erase that impression because you saw it. Nobody could ever say, listen, you didn't really get the right idea. You say, yes, I did, I saw it. In other words, seeing is a very profound, unshakable, and something which takes your mahus, it takes your essence as well. When you see with the eyes, whatever it's brought down in the Kunst Aveda and other places in Siddur, you have to be very careful where you look and how you look and so on and so forth, because if you look at improper things with the eyes and so on, then that has an effect on a man very profoundly. Therefore, it has to be the union of what's called Shmiras Ha'inayim and Shmiras Ha'riyah v'chulo, because the union of Riyah has a very essential effect on a man that its teifus his whole being. And you know, when you see something, you become very connected to it and very linked with it in a way that you can't deny the aspects of it, and you can't deny the effect it has on you. So therefore, said the Rebbe, the Eibishter gave us koyach ha-chochma. He said that's a union of b'chinas riyah, and if it's riyah, then it means riyah sama mahus. So he puts in brackets b'chinas mahus haziv. So what does he mean by that? Like we pointed out, we're not talking about seeing with the ayin hagashmi, but you relate to the matter so profoundly that it's like as if you saw it. And if you saw it, then you've experienced the mahus rather than the metzia. So we said understanding is connected with the idea of just the existing entity of things, just its being there, and certain descriptive aspects of that entity. But when you read something through the koyach ha-chochma, the immediate movement of chochma, then you experience the thing like it really is. In other words, mahus. Even though you may not be masig the mahus, but it's the mahus which affects you. Just like when you see it, you also don't maybe masig the mitis mahus, but the seeing of it, you see the mahus, you see what and therefore it has a very profound effect on you. So the emes koyach of chochma is like that, and therefore we see the Gemara says in Masechta Tomid, it's a very similar lashon occurs in Pirkei Avos, where it's not exactly the same lashon, but the Gemara says over there that Eizehu chacham haroyeh es hanoilad. Who is the emes of chacham? He who sees that which is born out. Haroyeh es hanoilad. So the simple teaching is that who is an emes of chacham? He sees what's going to come out of every situation or every reaction that he's making to something. He sees what's going to be the further results of that. Whenever he's very careful and very calculated as to what he does and how he judges situations, because he's always seeing what's going to be the outcome and the future development of that thing. That's the simple touch. Comes again the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe in Tanya teaches that Eizehu Chacham Aroya Es Hanoilad, that he sees how everything is born out Miha Yesh Miha Ayin. In other words, he sees how the whole world is being recreated every second. In other words, it's like the whole world is being reborn every moment. In other words, he sees the emes pirush of what is the creation. The creation is not just a static thing that we are walking around in, but every second the Eibishter is renewing the creation. And a chacham, is a person, he lives like that. He sees how every minute it's a new creation, that's a new koyach from the Eibishter to bring about the newness of the creation every second. So we see that the Gemara says how royeh sanoiler. He sees it. He actually You don't actually see it with the physical eye, but it's so powerful. It's his observation through the mind of this Indian that it's like as if he saw it. And that's Chokhmah. In other words, Chokhmah is, as the Gemara, as the Alter Rebbe tells us, in Perek Gimel, in Tanya, that Chokhmah is Koyach Ma. So he mentions it in 2 other places in Tanya as well. Altogether 3 times he mentions it. The Chokhmah is Koyach Ma. In other words, that it's a koyach, it's a thing which is in our seder of our limited powers that have been given to the soul once it enters the body. But that's the word koyach. However, it's ma. The whole purpose of that koyach is ma. And ma means bitul. Ma means, how do you say, nullification, self-nullification. When you say ma, you say you don't know anything and you're rising upwards to find out about something. That indicates that you are batil and you're asking for the truth. Ma. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu said about he himself and Aaron, he said, V'nachnu, not anachnu, v'nachnu ma. We are just, who are we? The whole meaning is only to know about the Abish, to know higher in Yonah. We have no ordinary Matthias of our own. So that's the union of ma. So therefore, Chokhmah is an amazing power which it reacts to mahus. You take the essence of every union. And the chiddush here in the Maimah is that, like we just saw, the Remes Chacham, he sees how everything is. He sees Elokus. He sees how everything is born. The whole rega. He sees the koyach Eloki functioning. So that puts in brackets that. Wait a minute, you can't really say that anybody, even B'chokhmah, would actually see mahus of the Eibush, the Kipshute, mahus ha'atzmas. You can't say. But he does see the mahus of the Ziv. Now the word Ziv means radiation. Like we said before, that in the Rotcha you're getting, affected by the fact that everything's only hoidoi, which is Ziv. Yeah, hoidoi, luminescence. And you're going from the luminescence to the Ether. With Chokhmah, you take the luminescence, but you see the very essence of that luminescence. In other words, you don't see that as being just a radiation from a much higher thing, but you see the essence, you see the Eibishter in that Ziv, in the Ziv Kaboshahu, and you don't just say, oh, this is only a Ziv, but you say, wait a minute, that Ziv is the Eibishter, that's him, and hidden in that Ziv is the Koyach HaYetzer. And it's another idea altogether. So therefore he says that when you're in an oven like that, then he said you are seeing mahus aziv validei re'iyas mahus va'atzmas elakus harihunas b'chinas shoiv ever b'chinas arot because you're mizbatu memetziusa. You lose your whole Matthias, your mizbatil, you become self-nullified within yourself altogether, and you lose your whole Matthias. Now here, the sentence changes very dramatically, because at the beginning of the sentence he says that you have Riyas HaMahus, Bechinas Mahus Haziv. And then he said, Validei Riyas Mahus Va'atzmas Elakus, Harihu Nazu Bechinas Shoiv, Eva Bechinas Arot. In the expression mahus va'atzmas, the very essence and the very sensual being of Elokus, that tends to indicate that you're seeing atzmas Elokus, you're seeing the Eivish Tamami. So we have to say, the flow of the pshat of the Inyan, we have to say that he means that the Ziv is also a gilui from atzmosei, and what you see is the etzem and mahus of the Ziv. That you see the etem of the mahus, and therefore you lose your whole material. When you are taking the ziv and you want to go up to the outside and go out of everything, then as well you're having a tremendous ride on a spiritual understanding, and you want to go up to higher. So that's you. On the contrary, that's like a fulfillment of all your ambitions and all your dreams to come to higher things and to be higher and to be misbattled in higher in yonim. And here you are misbattled from your whole self. Here you come back and you lose your whole existing entity completely. So I asked myself to Shaila, why does he say it so drastically like that there? The Rebbe, after having said that you have Riyas HaMahus, But he said, sorry, in the Mahus of the Ziv. Then he adds, what they reuse Mahus for Atzmus, Elikus. Then he becomes a shoiv, Heipach of the Rotzei, and he becomes Botel b'Matzir. He loses his whole Matzir altogether. So we have to say that there's a hint in that sentence that maybe you can see, even though it's maybe developing slightly on the pshat, but it would seem that there's a remez there that you can actually see through the koach hachochma. You can actually see mahus atzmas elikus, and when you do that, you become completely botel. But that's if you function with the koach hachochma. If you're going with tadin of an understanding, then you'll always be just a, how do they call it, a maven. You'll be a masculine, to use the old expression in Chabad. Even though Halavai always gewünscht that we should be like what some of the big masculine were like. But a masculine was a name for someone that he approached everything al pi seichel. So somebody who's holding by this level, he's not a masculine, but he's so botel, malachatchila. He's worked on it. We saw you have to work on yourself for shoiv. That he's become so devoted and so botel that he sees everything. He reacts in a way that he's got it very clear. And if you want a chizuk and a nature or something like that, you go to him and he'll give you a good word and he'll strengthen you, push you along, because he sees things. And he might call it, he's a seer. To use the old, I think, American expression. Imamila. What is that? How could you say that down here in this world is see mahus elikus? I mean, how is that? If you look up in Yom Yom, I've forgotten which day it is, and I didn't have a chance. It was Isik B'mitzvah. It's put down in Yom Yom that Balabatim, that they're busy with business in the world, they have a mile. They state that they have an advantage, because since they see Ashgacha Protiyas, and they're whole time busy in the business dealings of the world and being involved in the world, you see more Ashgacha Protiyas that way than if you're sitting the whole time in the Beis HaMedrash. Well, that doesn't mean that you guys don't have to sit in the Beis HaMedrash. You can sit as long as you like in the Beis HaMedrash, and you'll see Ashgacha Protiyas. It so happens that somebody is a Balashik, which you guys are not right now. And yet he's got a certain advantage that he sees a lot of Ashgacha Protiyas. That means that he sees Mahus Elikus. When you see Ashgacha Protiyas, you see Mamish Mahus Elikus. That's like the old saying, when it comes to the ultimate running of the country, and the king doesn't leave that to anybody. He doesn't give that over to anybody. The actual running of everything, B'Puel Mamish, and how do you call it, the running of all the ins and outs, and the decisions, that's the king himself. He doesn't give that to anybody else. Ashgacha Protiyas, only the Eibishter does that. Only the Eibishter runs the whole world. Not Malachim, not Atzilas, not anything. Maybe the Eibishter uses it. Lower forms of Ashgacha Protiyas, maybe uses the Kelim of Atzilas. To sort of make certain is Chalkes and so on. But it's of course that's the Eibishter. And in the Amitis in even Ashgacha Protiyas, it's not Mamish, higher than Atzilas, higher than the Tzimtzum, just the Eibishter himself. When you see Ashgacha Protiyas, and you see how the world functions according to the will of the Eibishter, if you look carefully, you can see that everything is ultimately hidden inside all things that happen. There's a certain gila of the Eibishter's will, a certain function that tells us about him in the most profound way. Then you're seeing Mahus Elikus. You maybe not seeing it mamish with your eyes, but that's the koach hachochma, and you become botel. Whatever one of the ways that people really become bottles when they say, "Wow, it's unbelievable." Ashgacha Protiyas, and they just see that they can't deny the running of the world and the conduct of the world. Hakadosh Baruch Hu b'koidu v'atzma. That's what the Rebbe says. If you're a maven and you're a maskil, and you go only according to Bina, you can have high inyan, you can be even connected with high inyan. But certain things blow you over because you're all the time going with your understanding and with your koch and high inyan, but it's all with your understanding. But if you're a man that you've lost your whole mitzvahs, you've given away your whole mitzvahs, your whole inyan is only mitzad chokhmah, and only mitzad koyach ma, and beetle to the Eibus's will, with all of your power, as it were, giving everything onto his lap, then you begin to see things differently. Then a man becomes aware of Elokus in everything, and he sees in every little Indian the gilui of Ashkechosa is Barach. And remember, that's like as we sing Mahus Elokus, because that's seeing the Eibush to him. So, and I say, you don't actually see the Eibush. No, I know from you don't. But it's more than understanding, a lot more than understanding. It's like I'm seeing the box in front of me there. I don't really understand what box is, but Mahus, what cardboard is. I can't really explain it with Mahus, but I see the Mahus. Yeah, and the Mahus has an effect on me. And it brings me a toilet. And I say, you can see Mahus Elokus Alidei, the Inyan from Choch. And that's the Inyan from Ezehu Chocham HaRoeh Esanoil. And that's what the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya. Perek Mem Vav. But the Alter Rebbe brings it, the Chachamim are called Einei Ho'eda. The Amos of Chachamim are called the eyes of the congregation. Because they're so bottled to Elokus, and they have wisdom, but that's not their Rika. Their Rika is their beetle to the end. And therefore they see things, they just look and they try. It's like this, they see the whole thing. And that's the Inyan that we find by the Rebbe. Those who saw the Rebbe in action, take of Miyad. We're going to see him in action, Miyad, take of Miyad. And he's in action now very profoundly also, right now. That you can be sure. The Gemara says, Masechta Seiter, Moshe Rabbeinu, the Gemara says, Ma lahalon, Eimed Mishamish, Achkan, Eimed Mishamish. The Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu loy ma'is, and it says Lama, because just like when we could see him, he was Eimed Mishamish, he just served the Jewish people. That's what he's doing the whole time now. He's Eimed Mishami. He's just standing and serving the Jewish people. That's Inyan of the Rebbe. How did I get on that? I can't remember now. And I would be very audacious to try and ask anybody if they could tell me what I was saying before I said that.
Mahus.
Yeah? Yeah, Inyan from Mahus, yeah. Exactly how it's kind of, I don't remember. But anyway, oh yes, anyway, Mahus, yeah, that's for sure. Oh yeah, Einei Ho'eda. Oh, that's right. Einei Ho'eda. However, if you saw the Rebbe in action, which you will very soon, then you saw the Rebbe he saw things. So he didn't have to sit down and work it all out, we all he just said things, boom, truck, boom, because he was seeing them. All these people flowing past by the dollars. How you do this? This is for you, brother. Yeah, you'll have children. You'll have something else. Yeah. And he's walking by, flowing by, just cupping their dollars and going, "You do next, please." And all these amazing things all come true. I mean, you should say, okay, I'll take it down in my notebook and then I'll put it in my computer, and then when I have time, a few hours a day, I'll think about it. I'll get you an answer in the post or something. Boom, boom. And the same in Yechidas. I mean, people came in, hundreds of people one night in Yechidas. Everybody's reading all these pedics, you look at them, sometimes he put his glasses on, and sometimes... It was very mind-boggling. He did that. And he would read those, and he would just sort of say, boom, boom, boom. He would answer all these things that are written. He'd say, wait a minute, Alan. So you wait outside for half an hour and let me think this over. He just worked this out a little bit. Call in my cowboy, and he'll write it down on my computer or something. Think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, then a big brochen, and he goes out, next guy comes in with his, all these people, all their lives written down in these little paddocks. And it's unbelievable when you think about it. It can't be imagined, the whole thing. People don't know. That's in from Ria de Chochma. I mean, that's even more. That's like Korah Ulayla Navua. But it depends how you learn it. In some ways, Ria de Chochma is even higher than Navua. But there's a mile of Bezer and a mile of Bezer. I've had both miles. Who's also annoyed. But anyway, whatever. So we see that's eating from Ria Samahus. They Ria Samahus for Atzma Salakus. Now some begin shoiv, then you just say, oh, I don't have any more my ideas or my opinions or my feelings. Well, it's just a ziv or it's not a ziv. You just tell me what I gotta do. I just tell me, and here I am, bottle of some people. Ein Matthias Klalo bottle by Matthias. We actually least begin what he couldn't dream of being Barotzai. Shu begins yeshva. He would be a yesh v'dova. So you say, wait a minute, what's a yesh v'dova? A person has a Avos Hashem, he's a yesh v'dova. So yes, as far as this is concerned, you're already a yesh v'dova. And therefore he doesn't want to be a yesh v'dova, ki'im b'b'china shoiv. He just wants to come down and do what he has to say. Purely plus in the marriage. Here's a minute you call him a yesh v'dova. Halabai. So alle Yidden gesagt that they would want alle Kuh, they have an Ava Kirish Peish. Says the Rebbe, no, once you see Mahus Alakus, and he said, you know that if you have Ava Kirish Peish, you're a Yesh Vador. You can go around the world and you hear that in Lubavitch. Outside Lubavitch, you want to Zavod.
Can you repeat that again?
Huh?
That if you have Kirish Peish, then what?
You're a Yesh Vador. You're something NA. You're like, you're a yes. In Lubavitch, you know what a yes is?
Yes.
You're a self-interested entity. So he gives you an example. Adar Moshe is Pilas, Vislavas, Megedulas Hamel. There's people that they have tremendous emotional impression when they hear about the greatness of the king. See, it's hard for us to imagine how these kids. The Siddim used to complain that in the latter generations we have kings, so it's hard to really see the nimshal. You have to work in a muscle that you can't really see it in action. But the truth is that if you look carefully at the way things were by the Rebbe, then you saw what it was like from that. So anyway, he says that he made Pilas Vislavas Mikdulos Eishel Amila. Shayek Dafke, that is Pilas Vislavas, the emotional effect of being, how do you call it, tremendously enthused about the greatness of the king. Shayek Dafke, Kasher Hu Maruchak Mi Amila. V'shoymea Mirochek Mikdulos Amila. Hari Hu Mispoyo Mikdulos Amila. Vislavas Kedolim. He said, when do you get into a bigger emotional arousal about the greatness of the king? When you're distant from the king, you're in another town. You hear all about the king, and people tell you about the greatness of the king, and the whole pomp and splendor, and the seduce, and you feel this tremendous, awakening in yourself. You want to see a king, you want to see what it looks like, and they say he's a great, unbelievable king with all the, with all the entourages and all the inyanim. You become full of an emotional arousal and an inflamed arousal. But he said that's only when you are distant and you hear from other people from a distance about the king and about his greatness. However, he said, when you eventually end up being in front of the king and you actually come in front of the king, and you see the emissary glory of the splendor of his greatness. That's a quote from the Megillah. That happens to be Zion Adar, so it's not bad doing, is it? But the word you quote Tiferes Kedulosei is a quote in the Megillah about Achashverosh. Anyway, he was a big king. So anyway, it's written, yeah, because you ball if now where you quote Tiferes Kedulosei. Ain't no Shayach Oz is pileless cloud. It's not Shayach. It's not even applicable, emotional around. When he walks in front of the king, he says, "Oh, king, what an amazing person you are! Oh, isn't this great?" It's unbelievable. He started taking about 50 different pictures with his, with his move camera. And so, when you're standing in front of the king, you say, that's already not Shayach. Ela mizbato be'etzem metziusai. You just lose your whole metzius, v'neiful oretz ke'evan daimim. Fall down on the ground like a piece of stone, like a silent stone. In other words, when you actually see the greatness of the king, you observe it, you're in front of him. And what do people do when they come in front of the king? They fall down on the ground. They had to cut there. Mishtachaveh, v'pishut yadayim v'rag. Raglayim. There's a matzias for clock. So we should do it. On the contrary, if you had his pilots before you saw him, they'd look when you see him, you should, oh, Melech, it's unbelievable. He should be dancing around with his pilots in front of the Melech. Yeah, and maybe trying to run up and embrace him or something. And the next thing is they throw you out on your neck. In other words, the berega, what you actually come lifnei HaMelech, then bottle Kol HaMatzias, when you actually see the miracle. Well, that's the difference between Rotzei and Shohi, and that's the difference between Bina and Chochmah. That Bina leads you to understanding, because Bina is a Ha'orah. So we see that the Ha'orah works in two ways. First of all, the Ha'orah is only Ha'orah from the Eibishter. The whole understanding is only Ha'orah. The whole thing that you understand, is only Ha'orah. And the understanding itself is only Ha'orah. And it's only Shat to Ha'orah. From both sides. It's Ha'orah. Chochmah from both sides is the Mahuz. Because on the one hand, you see the Mahuz through Chochmah, and that affects you in your whole Mahuz. Because Paul considers what is Pishut Yadayim V'Rag, lying when you fall out flat on the ground. He says, Neivel Lords, when you do is, when you fall down, that means that your feet and your head are all on one straight line. With the highest powers, the lowest powers, they just all bottle b'meh. They just all lose their whole state of being any entity. And therefore, the change kever daima. So he said, "K'moy ken yuvan baruch niyaz." The beginners riyah the chochmah, sharoya machus elakus. So you see the very essence of elakus. Ein of beginners is pilus rotzoi cloud. So you can't feel then this whole emotional arousal of the rotzoi at all. Eramizbato be'etzem matziusei. I'm sorry. The beginners riyah the chochmah sharoya machus. Then was it pilus kiim u'beginners shoiv lamata. The whole union of chochmah is dafki to go down. Even of coming into what the Melech really wants. Ki ein boi koyach klal la'alis l'mayla. And when we say he hasn't got any koyach, it doesn't mean that he's schwach. He's just an old schlepper and he doesn't have any koyach. What we mean is he doesn't have any koyach. It means he couldn't possibly arouse within himself this idea of going upwards. It would be beyond his whole present experience. So therefore we say he doesn't have the ability to have the koyach. La'alis l'mayla ki'im la'asis l'mata kelim la'gila elakus. His whole meaning is to make kelim down l'mata in this world, to be busy with this crazy old world that Mitzad Roti would like to get away from. Dafki to be in the world and to make vessels out of the things in this world. Kelim la'gila elakus masha nisave hakadosh baruch hu. That's what we're trying to get. At the whole meaning from Shoy is, we say, what does he want? He wants it should be a deer for a matter of loy for him. No. So who are you? You're nothing. You're just a how do you call it? A boreg. What do you call it? You're just a bolt. You're just a screw in order to carry out the dir b'tach. And who wants to do something he wants? It's not your business at all. He said, I ain't like queer. You wouldn't have any queer to say, I want something. I want to do this. The whole thing is only to make dir is bar b'tach. So now you got it. That's the uniform chokhmah, and that's the uniform shoyi.
I didn't understand when you said ki ein b'koyach klal alis l'mayla. It's too much off for him to go further.
Yeah. Not that he doesn't have. He's just too weak. He needs to, be laid down on the couch and he has no queer. He can't possibly do it. That's what I mean. Ain't like queer. I mean, he hasn't got the ability to express that type of aliyah anymore. You realize that you're going to be tough kilometer.
Because it's too high for him?
No, because he realizes that that's not the inyan. He realizes that the whole inyan is to make the world into a dir b'tach, the world, the whole world into a dir b'tach. That he doesn't have to. It's like saying he doesn't have the gumption, he doesn't have the power to do it, because he realizes that that's not the rotzim. That's not the nesava lo yizbara.
According to what we're saying in the Maimon, first you need Bina to have the Rotza, and then you need Chochmah to have the Shor. So the Chorb to get to the Bina, don't you need Chochmah first?
No, okay.
You don't Bina without Chochmah?
No, I mean, you need a bit of Chochmah everywhere. It's got to be, if you're not a bit potel, then nothing works. But there's a bittul mitzad asogya. We're not saying that asogya is not a bittul of an Israel. When you start off with asogya, you become potel. Then you go through a higher type of, you go from that asogya to a higher bittul that's in you. Right? And on the contrary, if you don't have a rotza, you won't have a shoy. You can have what they call a shoy without a rotza, but that's, later on he's going to write in the mind that that's a dry thing. It means you're just a, how do you call it, an eved without any chayas in what the other really want. In order that you should be a dir b'tach toinim nikah, and you've got to have a bit of rotze. And rotze comes from asro. So it's good to have asro. And then through that, if you have the right intentions, if you learn chassidus, you have a rebbe, tells thing, then you come to show you. Then you go up into the Inyan Chol.
Yesterday you mentioned that when we do Kabbalas oil, right?
Yeah.
There's an Indian that perhaps even the Neshama Lakit can experience a transformation of its teva. Now my question
Transformation of its teva?
That may be the Neshama Lakit. Now, exactly where? Because the Neshama Lakit is a piece of Hashem. But we have two levels there. Is it in its source?
Well, you see, it's not that the Neshama Lakit goes against its whole etzim teva, or its etzim teva is to be nimshut l'lakus. However, what the implication being that we see that if you look in Perek Yud Ches and Yud Tes, Tanya, and the Alter Rebbe compares the Nefesh Elokis to a nail. Well, the nail just burns up and go up and completely out. You look carefully over there in Perek Tes, he says that really the Nefesh Elokis, mitzad our own souls, wants to go up to the Yisod HaEish, mitachas Galvei, to disappear. Therefore, the Nefesh Elokis mitzad etzem inyono, how she's from Olam HaTzilas and even Lamala HaTzilas, then she's got a chushin Elokus, but a chushin going out, and leaving behind all the things which are mavatl. The mavalva of it. Even dir b'tach toinim makes it even the Nefesh Elokis realize that she's got to, on the contrary, she's got to help give all of the unbelievable feeding that she has to give Talkim and go to Lamat. So in that respect, it's also an effect on the teva of the Nefesh Elokis. That's a very difficult one. It's not so easy. Hashem Shalom. We have a bit of tzlocha, of a drink here.